What's up, Star Wars fans? My name is Prince and I'm an urban acolyte. And I want to recall the video that I did at the end of January where I talked about how Finn's lightsaber scenes were cut from The Force Awakens. Now, some people came away from The Force Awakens feeling that there was this huge bait and switch. The marketing leading up to The Force Awakens showed all these shots of Finn with the Skywalker lightsaber. We saw clips during the trailers of Finn getting ready to go one-on-one with Kylo Ren in lightsaber duel. I guess the assumption was that Finn would be the Luke Skywalker of this saga. And, well, to be honest, that was reported leading up to The Force Awakens, is that John Boyega would be the Luke Skywalker of the saga. We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Later, about last summer, was when I really started to do research on George Lucas's original plans for the sequel saga that he had planned while he was working on Empire Strikes Back, right? So when I say that the idea, the plan for Rey to be the lead character, that this saga would be a coming of age story about a woman, all of that goes all the way back to when George Lucas was working on Empire Strikes Back. Anyway, I said all of that because Vanity Fair, in doing their 40th anniversary coverage of Star Wars and The Last Jedi, just released about an hour or two ago an interesting article, a conversation that they had with Pablo Hidalgo about the Skywalker lightsaber. Except it's no longer the Skywalker lightsaber. It is now Rey's lightsaber. So I'm going to read this to you guys, and I'm going to share my thoughts as I read and once I get through. So as far as we know in Star Wars lore, there are two Skywalker lightsabers. There's the blue one Anakin built for himself somewhere between giving his opinions on sand in Episode 2 and massacring a group of younglings in Episode 3. After Anakin loses that blade and most of his appendages in a fight, Obi-Wan Kenobi plucks the weapon from the lava sand beach and holds on to it for as long as it takes for Ewan McGregor to turn into Alec Guinness. He then gives the blue blade to Luke, who uses it until he loses it, along with just one appendage during The Empire Strikes Back. But while the blue weapon that once belonged to Anakin meant a good deal to Luke, the blade that can truly be called Luke's lightsaber, according to Lucasfilm, is the one he builds himself in a cutscene from Return of the Jedi. The green weapon impresses Vader. Lightsabers are much harder to come by after the Jedi are wiped out, who acknowledges that Luke is, in Pablo's words, not a pretender to this legacy. Hidalgo explains that Luke's blade was originally going to be blue in the first Return of the Jedi trailer and poster, but was changed to green for a very practical reason. The intent was the lightsaber was going to be blue, Hidalgo explains of the story that is passed in the Star Wars lore. In that universe, at that time, as far as anyone knew, lightsabers were red or they were blue. But Luke's weapon was changed to green so it would stand out against the bright blue sky and yellow sand in scenes such as the Jedi's daring rescue of Han, Leia, and the rest. As much as we like to mythologize why it's green and what that all signifies, sometimes there are very pragmatic filmmaking reasons behind these things. George's rule of thumb was bad guys get red, good guys get blue, or eventually green, Hidalgo explains. But Star Wars rules are made to be broken, and when Samuel L. Jackson insisted he get a purple lightsaber so he could pick his character Mace Windu out of a Jedi-heavy fight scene in Episode 2, well, George relented. Lo and behold, a purple lightsaber came into existence. And though there have been some fan-generated attempts over the years to make the various lightsaber colors mean something about a Jedi's purpose, Hidalgo cautions against the notion that the color of a lightsaber blade is indicative of morals or character. So we know why Windu's blade is purple and Luke's is green, but why does Rey have that blue one? How did it get from Cloud City to Maz Kanata's castle in The Force Awakens? And why was it calling out to her? Some fans theorize that the lightsaber's connection to Rey confirms that she's somehow related to the Skywalker line. Otherwise, why would it fly into her hands and not the eager grasp of Anakin's grandson, Kylo Ren? In general, Pablo explains, a lightsaber belongs to the person who constructed it. Obviously not the case here with Rey. In The Force Awakens, Ma says that the lightsaber is calling to Rey now. Whether or not it's literally calling to her to become hers, or it's calling to her because she knows it will be taken back to Luke, well, we'll have to wait and see. Either way, the blade is no longer considered Anakin's lightsaber by the Lucasfilm marketing department. It has now officially been dubbed Rey's. As for that green lightsaber that Luke made for himself, it is yet to resurface in any of the marketing materials surrounding the current trilogy. Has Luke abandoned it along with potentially his faith in the Jedi way? Will we see Luke wield it again in The Last Jedi? Hidalgo says vaguely yet reassuringly, we take to heart the lesson that Obi-Wan tried to impart to Anakin. This weapon is your life. We're not ones to lose track of lightsabers. So I wanted to read all of that to you guys because I thought it was very interesting. One, all of this stuff, this talk about colors of lightsabers and whatnot. And I've said all along that doesn't mean anything, right? Mace Windu having the purple lightsaber doesn't mean he walks the balance between light and dark. There's a lot of stuff in Star Wars that we say now, and to be honest, a lot of people don't know why they think that or why they say it. They heard it somewhere and they're just repeating it, right? Like what happened to Palpatine's face. Dash and I started to do a video on that back in September. He had things going on with his channel and, with business and personal life, as did I. I also caught strep throat. And when I did that video, the response to Vincent Vendetta's Snoke is Mace Windu theory video, I was actually doing research on what happened to Palpatine's face, right? And I'm getting ready to spoil the video. I probably could still do it. Mitch told me to go ahead and do it. But everything that everything that I thought I knew about Palpatine's face, I thought came from George Lucas, as did Mitch. I spent a week looking for that source and I could not find it anywhere. And it turns out what a lot of people believe about Palpatine's face came from a Star Wars board game, right? You do some kind of, you could do like dark side magic to conceal your appearance or something, to conceal the dark side degradation. And you'd have to like roll a dice to do a check, right? And that's where everyone got the idea that Palpatine was using some kind of magic to conceal his face, when it's actually not the case, right? It was that the lightning reflected back in his face and it scarred and burned his face and distorted his appearance, right? So I'm going to admit that that's something that I thought I really do believe that I heard George Lucas say it over 10 years ago, but I can't find a source on it. The only source I can find is the one from the Star Wars, some RPG or tabletop game. So I'm going to own up to that one. All right. But, this is interesting that Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber has now become Rey's lightsaber. And if you go back to a video I did last summer, I realized that half of you guys, half of my subscribers, y'all weren't even subscribed and may not even known about me. But go back and watch. There are 2 videos. They're long, but they will be worth your while. A lot of it is me speculating, but it's not just me just pulling stuff out of my ass. I really sat down and took time to think things out, where I made up a hypothetical situation of why Ben Solo would have turned to the dark side and become Kylo Ren, and where the connection between Kylo Ren and Rey began. I think I said something about he had a vision of someone else leading the Jedi into the next generation, and it wasn't him. Now, he didn't necessarily see Rey, but he saw someone and knew it wasn't him, right? And so I go on to talk about this gets into like deep religious studies type things. All major religions have some kind of phallic symbol of power, and it's the axis mundi. Even if you look at now, it's funny, like I said all of that and people laughed, but it turns out that I'm right. It's like I've done graduate studies on this. I'm not trying to toot my horn or sound like I know it all. But when you spend half your life studying something, I think you might be right a time or two, don't you think? But look at the first poster of Star Wars, and you see Luke Skywalker with the lightsaber extended. It is the Axis Mundi. It is the center of the world, the center of the universe. It is sacred space. And then you look at the poster for The Last Jedi. So A New Hope and The Last Jedi, the posters are similar, but who is holding the Axis Mundi? Who is holding the sacred pole? The thing that the Akelpa tribes, their shaman held up so that in remembrance of their god who fought the demon and then climbed the pole and jumped into the sky and created life as they know it. No one but Rey. It's Rey who has the symbol of power, the key to the Skywalker heritage. So she doesn't have to be a Skywalker, because I've stopped thinking that Rey was a Skywalker after the first time I walked out of The Force Awakens on whatever day it premiered. I don't even remember anymore, in 2015. And I've said all along, I don't think Rey is a Skywalker. People have said I'm stupid, called me every kind of thing under the sun. There's still probably people leaving comments, Prince, you're an idiot. How can you not think that Rey is a Skywalker? She obviously has to be a Skywalker. The movie's about the Skywalker family. Well, Rey could be a surrogate Skywalker, or whatever the term is I'm trying to think of, right? She has the key to the Skywalker heritage, and now the Skywalker heritage is in her hands. If Anakin's lightsaber is now Rey's, right? And she's got to go and fix. She's the one to correct or put everything that he did, everything that he accomplished, that Luke accomplished, back on track, right? Anakin was the chosen one. He fell to the dark side, became Darth Vader. He sacrificed himself to save his son, to save the galaxy, even though I don't think when he threw Palpatine in that pit that he was thinking, I'm saving the galaxy. I'm saving my son, because this dude lied to me and stole 23 years from my life that I could have spent knocking boots with Padme and playing Jedi catch with Luke and Leia. I didn't even know about Leia. I didn't even know I had a fucking daughter, right? So I didn't even know I had a freaking daughter, right? And I almost killed her, right? I tortured her. I almost killed my daughter, right? Because I'm following this old stinky dude in this dirty black cloak, right? So it kind of was the revenge of the Jedi, even though Jedi don't seek revenge. Vader was getting his revenge on what Palpatine did to him. He ruined his life, right? He took his life away from him. And turned him into a shell of who he could have been, right? And then, but he saves the galaxy. And then what happens? His grandson is born, and whether he had a proclivity to turn to or a strong affinity to the dark side because he had too much Vader in him, right now we don't know. I think that Kylo Ren may possibly suffer from some kind of mental illness, but we'll have to wait and see how that turns out, right? But the point is that Anakin Skywalker's legacy, what he died for, has been tarnished by the actions of his grandson. And now someone has to come and correct that. That person may not necessarily be a Skywalker, but this movie is still about the Skywalker legacy and the impact that it has on the galaxy. And that would be the reason why Luke feels that it's time for the Jedi to end, is because look at what my father did, and then I trained my nephew, and look at what he's doing, right? Maybe it's best if we just let this whole thing go, and maybe the Skywalker name is going to be the biggest cuss word in the galaxy, and I just rather just let that light fade out. And if someone else wants to search out this temple and they have had an awakening, there's been another tremor in the Force, well, they can do it, but I'm done. I'm all tapped out, right? So Rey, when she finds Luke, she finds him broken. And like I said, I think Luke is going to force push her off the side of that cliff and say, I don't want that lightsaber. Get the hell on. And he's really going to turn out to not be what she was expecting at all. And she'll have to convince him that the galaxy is worth saving, the Jedi are worth redeeming, and the Force is going to be there whether you want it to be there or not. So you might as well put on your big boy robes and train me and let me go and fight so that we can take down the First Order and this dude Snoke and this guy Kylo Ren, who is a big baby, who's also training to not be a big baby anymore, but to be a total BA SOB. Right? So those are my thoughts. I guess I kind of went off the rails. So we'll call this a Star Wars chat. This was a Star Wars chat. Since y'all were mad that I stopped doing Star Wars chats, this was a Star Wars chat, and I'm going to go on that note because I need to start getting ready for my live stream, which is actually supposed to start in 30 minutes, which means I need to hurry up and get this video edited and posted. But what do you guys think about this article? Anakin's lightsaber now belongs to Rey, and me saying that Rey is going to be a surrogate member of the Skywalker family, not by blood, but more by adoption, more due to her relationship with Luke and Leia and the role that she's going to play in redeeming the Skywalker legacy, the Skywalker heritage, right? So let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll be checking back to see what you all have to say. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so that you can take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Use your love for Star Wars and all things nerdy and geek culture-y, if that's a word, to make the commitment towards becoming a superhero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Vanity Fair is releasing a lot of stuff on Star Wars, so stay tuned for more videos. I might be tapped out for today, but we'll wait and see. Maybe I'll get another one up, cause there's an interview with Kathleen Kennedy, and then there's the article they posted, the 5 things you will see and the 5 things you won't see in The Last Jedi. And I kind of want to give my thoughts on both of those, articles, but that Kathleen Kennedy one, I'm going to summarize. I'm not going to read it, I'm going to summarize it and then give my thoughts. So stay tuned for that. They might not post until tomorrow, but they will post for sure because I want to share my thoughts. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. Y'all keep on breathing, and may the force of others be with you always.